Good morning, everybody. Coming to you here just after 9 o'clock. We are following some severe weather. We had some tornado warnings just expire. Let's go to our weather team right now this morning. From the studio, we have Chris Mulcahy and Majestic Storm. What's the very latest, guys?
Well, for one thing, we had a tornado warning, but Majestic, we kind of looked at that. I think if there was anything that happened, I think it happened immediately.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing people have to realize is that if there's a tornado, there's a good chance that it happens quickly along the line, and a tornado warning might not be enough. That's why the National Weather Service has a bunch of these severe thunderstorm warnings with the tornado tag.
I think the severe thunderstorm warning alone is your good indication that it's a good time to start paying attention and to get inside. I know a lot of people, they like to go outside and to look at the sky and to see what's going on, but if you are under a severe thunderstorm warning, you don't have to wait until the next level to get to that tornado warning, because this is a strong cold front. The forecast has really been spot on. We've had that short wave earlier this morning that, you know, fired up a couple of storms, a couple of heavy downpours, but I would say if you're just tuning in, it's important to know that this is the line that's causing the problems already, and it's going to slowly push through the area, so this is our main focus.
Yeah, and I'm actually happy the way things are going down, because we want this line to move in as quick as possible, because it doesn't give us enough time to really fully destabilize the atmosphere, because we're seeing a lot of sunshine shots across the area. All right, so let's bring up radar. Let's roll around this. This is where I really want to focus in on. We're going to go warning by warning, area by area. Here it is. We first start off with a severe thunderstorm warning down here in York County and Chester County. So this one right here specifically is going to go until 10 a.m. So that's going to bring it to about the I-77 corridor at that point. Things are already cruising. One thing that's really interesting is that all of these, every single one of these warnings that we have here on the screen are a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado tag, except for one. And that's the one for where we have some of our most populated areas now passing 321. So this is actually good news, because as of right now, this looks to be mainly just a straight line wind event. And wind is wind. Wind can cause damage if it goes straight or if it's twisting around. But I personally like it because sometimes if you get a quick little spin up, it could be talking about winds that are over about, let's call it anywhere from 65 to 85 miles per hour is a lower end, and then upwards to about 86 to 110. Then we're talking about an EF1. At that point, that could move a car. So we have some very heavy rain and winds that are now moving through our Dallas camera. Let's actually go in our head in the clouds. This will be interesting. This is one of the advantages that we have on our Dallas camera to look around. Let's see what it looks like. And we can move it around, but I think it's literally just going to be our head in the clouds. We might be able to see maybe a little bit of lightning that's starting to flash up here, but this is mainly just some heavy rain. I think you are going to see some active lightning, but things are kind of in the regenerating process, meaning that they're only going to get stronger. So let's swing this camera around, see what else we can kind of see for the disadvantage. This also shows about how low the clouds are. I've been mentioning this most of the morning. The lower the bottom of the clouds, the more significant that we can actually have a tornado drop down. But you can actually really see the rain coming down here through our Dallas camera. So that's just one camera that is now actively within the storm. This storm system is moving off towards the east at about 45 miles per hour. I'm also seeing some of them at about 55 miles per hour. So I want to time that out. And there is a chance that we might be having to cut back into programming if there's another tornado warning. But as of right now, this looks to be mainly just severe thunderstorm warnings. But something has changed. We now extend that one warning that is a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado tag. That's what that orange banner represents. That is going to go all the way through 10 o'clock. That now got expanded, and it's also said for the National Weather Service that they extended it pretty much 6 miles from Lincolnton to 90 miles west of Huntersville, and it's moving east at about 48 miles per hour. So I want to try to get the best timing as possible. There's so many things to time out with this. That's the hard things about these systems. There's a chance for damaging winds all up and down the line, and as it continues minute by minute, hour by hour, it's only going to get stronger the further east that you go. So if you're watching from the eastern side of I-77, just hold on. I'm letting you know this storm system is going to be here sooner than you think, and also I think it's going to be much stronger than where it is right now. So what we're doing right here is bringing up one of these measuring tools, and I put in 45 miles per hour because I think this storm system is going to increase. So that's going to give us a general clear time that likely I would even say less than 10 minutes, Mount Holly, you're really going to see the downpour and the chance for those gusty winds and those trees that are really going to be swaying in the breeze. Also, please message me here on at your weatherman WCNC on Facebook, but also at your weatherman on Instagram. I'd love to follow this storm and kind of see what's happening in your neighborhood. That's the key here. What exactly you're seeing at your house. This also brings it to Mooresville at about 9:29. That's how fast this is moving. In Charlotte, about 9:34. So even though that warning goes all the way until the 10 o'clock hour, this is exceeding expectations. So we were calling about 9 to noon to see the worst of the weather around I-77. Well, it's that earlier window. And that can often happen with some of these storm systems. So Majestic's on standby to give us the timing of all this. The problem, Majestic, is I have to keep on adjusting the grid just about how fast this is all moving, because this is an exceptional line of severe thunderstorm warnings that now is going all the way through Iredell County, all the way down through Chester and York County.
I mean, I think most areas right along I-70, 77, and then just west of it, now you can see mostly all under that severe thunderstorm warning. And it's important to note that not everyone has that rain coming down. Perhaps maybe you're starting to notice that those winds are starting to intensify, but this is still on the way. And it's important to remember that we've been watching that first initial rain and storm activity this morning, but now as we head towards the later half of the day, we're going to now tap into that main line. So futurecasts continuing to look like this, those areas shaded in reds and oranges and especially purples. Here's about 11 o'clock this morning. That's where we are continuing to see some of the worst conditions. I think even if a storm doesn't have that rotation, it's important to know that the strong straight line winds do just as much damage oftentimes, because bottom line, these are just really strong storms. So 11 o'clock still looking like this. It's at really the secondary line that's pushing through, that's causing us the biggest concerns already, but we're far from over. This is going to be right around noon. So at this point, we have widespread impacts, lots of rain, gusty winds, and can those storms produce some tornadoes? Of course, that's what we've been really honing in on, that we do have the threat for some of those storms to produce a tornado, to produce that rotation there. So making sure that you're really taking this seriously and making sure you do have a way to receive weather notifications, that's going to be key. So after about 2 o'clock this afternoon, 3 o'clock, the line starts to break apart, and then we're mainly just looking at rain and wind and still active weather. But as far as that severe weather threat goes, it does start to die down. I would say even if you're not in a tornado warning, but you're in a severe thunderstorm warning like many of us are, it's important to note that you should be aware. You should be aware that those strong winds will be the biggest problem there, and that you can get to your safe place. And it probably would be a good idea, because there's still a lot of energy that we're working with. Chris?
Thanks a lot, Majestic. Yeah, and I was just measuring how strong the winds are along this line. So right now I'm seeing winds up to about 60 to 65 miles per hour potentially just along this edge now east of Lincolnton, east of High Shoals. Again, send us any of the photos that you might have or any videos that are really good general estimation of what's happening here. But it's crazy about how fast this is all moving, that usually you don't see severe thunderstorm warnings that are this big. I feel this is more thing that you usually see east of I-77, but it's right here now that I think within the next 30 minutes or so, next 30 to 45, that's where anyone that's here in Mecklenburg County, southern Iredell County, we're already seeing it here in Gaston County and right around Gastonia. That's where we're kind of seeing the worst of the worst. But now we have to really be on guard, because every single one of our severe thunderstorm warnings now officially is showing that we will have a chance for a spin-up tornado along the line. Now, in general, winds are the main threat. And that also couples tornadoes. Wind is wind. If it's straight line, if it's spinning, it still could cause just as much damage, because a weekend EF0 tornado is still 65 to 85 miles per hour. So let's check it out. Right here along this line where you're starting to see actually some breaks in it, which is good but not good. That's starting to push into Mount Holly. I think you're going to have the heavier rain with some thunder and lightning. It's just all about that leading edge about how strong the winds are. Now, what I'm about to show you is, like, for our measurement tool, isn't going to be a super accurate one, because you have to kind of take off some of the winds down to about 10 miles per hour. I think the main leading edge of this right now is showing winds probably about 10 off of what you see here. So probably above that 45 to 50 mile per hour range. So not technically the severe range, but I do think that we have a wider swath of those gustier winds that are along this line. So it's been really tough to kind of see the areas of rotation, but now that we're starting to see this leading edge, now you see that kind of little bow that's happening, that is showing that we're dealing with some stronger winds, especially leading through now Gaston County over into eastern Lincoln County. That's going to bring you around Lowell as well. You can see to the north, though, almost clear of Ellendale and parts of Alexander County, where we have a lot of what's called stratiform precipitation. So it's that light to moderate precip that's going to be on the back edge of that. Meanwhile, up in the Statesville area, your severe thunderstorm warning officially is going on until 10 o'clock as well. The indications here is the same thing. Winds up to about 60 miles per hour. Moving off towards the east at about 40. That's kind of the general estimate that we're seeing here. But I think certain parts of the line are moving much faster than others, that you're having more of those gustier winds. So anyone that lives along the I-77 corridor, it's coming. Likely, if you look off towards the west, you're going to see it as well. Now here in our Dallas camera, we literally had our head in the clouds with that heavier rain not too long ago. Notice the change here. Now you still have those active raindrops, but you can see the bottom a little bit better. I'm going to swing this back over to the east and see exactly what everything's looking like. So in general, our storm system is now officially over to this general vicinity in the eastern side of Gaston County, but it's pushing off towards the east at about 40. So let me show you this. Here's a better look. All right. By the way, Brad Panovich just rolled in. This one flew. Through the morning, I think I've had to readjust our future cast probably about like 6 times, just trying to factor in the different speeds that this has been going. So I want to do a general consensus about what this line is going to do, and I honestly can do this every 5 minutes and it's going to be forever changing. Right now this shows Cramerton pretty much the next 3 minutes. It's pretty much already on your doorstep. Let's move a little bit down the road. Charlotte's still around that 9:30 time frame, so literally within the next 15 to 20 minutes you're going to see some significant storms that are starting to roll into town. Again, I'm super happy that this is not a bigger deal as far as moving a little bit later on in the afternoon. You're still going to have some winds that are behind this, but for this leading edge, if it came a little bit later on, we could be in trouble. Now, Salisbury about 9:52, Monroe about 10:04, and then Lexington at 10:11, and then Albemarle about 10:18 overall. Thomasville, you also have 10:25, and High Point, even though it's just outside of our viewing area, we have about 10:31. So we have a large train of all these areas of orange, and I changed the color key here that represents that we have not just a severe thunderstorm warning, but also one that has a tornado tag overall, and this goes all the way down towards the south. This is significant, but what's really interesting, it's the northern side of this that has, I think, the most rotation. We're actually seeing a significant break in the action down from Valdosta up to Macon, Georgia, but then it's a lot more organized along this line that you can see some potential notches that are going to be in these breaks. So what we're looking for is any sort of little twists and bends that can potentially happen, like right there and right there. So even though you don't have a technical tornado warning, I think honestly by the time you get all said and done, if we issued a tornado warning from the National Weather Service, the damage might have already happened. So that's why I want everyone to treat this as strong winds. Because as I mentioned, it doesn't matter if they're twisting, it doesn't matter if they're straight, it's still going to be significant if you're going to have this line quickly in and out. So this is just showing the general time heading to Statesville. So Statesville, you're about 15 minutes away. Mooresville, I think it's about 15, 20 minutes away. You're going to see a little bit more of a delay. As you can see, this line is starting to lag back a little bit heading into the Rock Hill area. And then further down towards the south, we have one more severe thunderstorm warning with that tornado tag, and then it's really along the I-77 corridor that I think you're going to start to see things pick up. That we've been showing you this map all morning long. And this is our severe weather risk. This is an interesting map, and I actually got the stat from Brad that the last time that we had a level 4 of 5 here in the Carolinas was March of 2021. Now, that is also pinpointing that the worst of the weather is likely going to be further off towards the east. So what I want to do is I actually want to kind of give you through, bring you through an exercise as we're kind of getting ready for the change in the guard now that Brad is here. I want to show you about matching the radar up with the actual futurecast. So this is showing 9:17, and we're already almost into Mecklenburg County. So anyone here in Mecklenburg County, this is the time to be in your safe spot, more the interior part of your house. I know everyone wants to watch this, but this is where we're going to have some of the gustier winds that are associated with this. That is really coming within the next 30 minutes. So this is racing. What we were saying for that general window about 9 to noon, no, the worst of the weather is happening right now. Now, one thing that we are seeing for sure is that our futurecast is a little bit behind the ball. So what I'm able to do is something that's actually called a grid adjustment. So what that does is like, okay, where is it now? So this one right here is a little bit more spot on, showing a heavier line pushing through about 11 o'clock. But truly, I think it's at that point you're seeing the main leading edge further off towards the east. But since this system is actually, even though it looks like it's moving west to east, you're still getting that flow out of the southwest. So that's going to allow one last pulse of some of those heavier storms. So see that line that's right around Rockingham, Southern Pines, over to Chirac? That I think is going to be the worst weather that we're having here in the Carolinas, because it's all associated and lining up with our tornado threats and our highest wind damage threat. Because notice how our wind damage threat exponentially increases as you go west, then further off towards the east. That's where you have a lot of those hash lines as well. That shows that there's a 45 to a 60% chance, which by the way, that pretty much means that 1 out of every 2 thunderstorms, the way that I like to kind of describe this, potentially could be producing some of those damaging winds. As far as the rain right now, it is more of just a wind event that we're really worried about. If we had had days of rain, we've had the opposite because we've had such a gusty wind environment. This would be a completely different case in scenario. But all in all, our active radar is really showing that it's quickly cruising off towards the east. Thank you for bringing that back up. But we're trying to find some really designated areas of rotation. This one, by the way, here in Gaston County, believe it or not, you have this last little batch of your showers, and then your severe thunderstorm warning is going to be ending early by about 15 minutes. Meanwhile, I was mentioning Mount Holly here about 5 minutes ago. The worst of your weather is about to happen pretty much right now. Likely you're probably hearing some active thunder as well. The lightning is not as impressive actually as I saw a few hours ago. I think that will change over the next couple of hours. So Mount Holly over around Paw Creek, Mountain Island Lake, you're starting to see things pick up. Meanwhile, for the Charlotte area, so I want to do a quick measurement where we're seeing a majority of our population. I've seen speeds anywhere from 35 to 55 miles per hour for this line. I'm going to average it out to about 45, where we're actually starting to see a little bit more of a bulge. Here's some more of our populated areas that we could potentially see over the coming hours. Paw Creek around 9:25, Charlotte about 9:33. So literally, Charlotte, uptown, you're going to see a big change in your weather in the next 10 to 15 minutes as this is starting to roll in general. All right, so we also had mentioned about the cold front. Plain and simple, this is one of those epic systems that it completely just changes up our forecast. We have a high of 68 degrees today. We've already hit that, by the way. And we're going to see temperatures start to topple down as we work our way through the afternoon. By tomorrow morning, we're waking up to freezing temperatures, 48 degrees, and then 50 degrees for Wednesday, another freezing low at 28. And then we're right around freezing one more time on Thursday before things really start to ramp back up at 63, 71, and then right around 80 degrees.